So you've seen me talking about this Extinction Rebellion thing going on in London that's still going on. I mean, this was from yesterday. Well, today technically, I guess. If 2 in the morning of the same day is the same day. Anyway, enough. Anyway, so more than 750 arrests as police ask for help. I love the way that the police are literally going to continue arresting the entire middle class. Because I went to this protest and talked to a bunch of people there, and they are overwhelmingly middle class. But I'm middle class too, and when I started talking to them, they were very nice to me. They were very polite, and I had nice conversations with them. One of them I recorded and uploaded. And I mean, there probably are people in there that were nasty, but I never saw any of it, and it just seemed like a nice kind of hippie festival. But the thing is, they don't respect property rights, and they've been going around smashing stuff. I don't think they've actually been violent to any individuals. And does it just me, or does this guy look like me from behind? It's not me, I promise. Look at those arms. I have much stronger arms than those. But no, so they're not bad people. I think. I think they're just real extremists, and I think that there's a real problem with extremism at the moment. I mean, I'm a free speech extremist, aren't I? I say crazy things on the internet that trigger the entire London bubble into spurring out and recognizing me as a legitimate opposition to what they do. And this is what these people are doing. They are climate extremists, and they think that, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez style, the world's going to end in 12 years. But as crazy as they are, they do have some legitimate points. I've been thinking a lot about how these kind of movements are forming, because this is very similar to the Dagda thing, very similar to like the Tommy thing, very similar to just all of the kind of unwashed masses protest groups, and yes, even the unwashed masses of the middle classes. And I mean that literally. Look at these people. They are obviously unwashed. They've been there for weeks, or a week or something. No, it has been. I think it's probably been like 2 weeks now. But like the unwashed masses, I know why this is happening, and it's not quite as echo chambery as you might think, right? So I've been thinking about this a lot, and this occurs to me with vegan communities as well, which is why you get people like Peter doing what they're doing. And there are an awful lot of these groups. See, I didn't see this group coming at all. This group just arrived in the middle of in my lap, and I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" But I was speaking to a few other people I know, and they have seen these people posting stuff around. I'm just not connected to any of those networks, because this is being done on social media. All of this is a consequence of social media, right? So what's happening is that people, and I've seen my wife got invested in veganism to a certain degree because of this sort of stuff. And what it is that there are some things that they are saying that is true. Every single one of these groups, every single one has some true points, right? What they do is they find themselves with an interest in a subject. They discover a subject and they start getting into it, and then they start getting more and more and more and more and more into it. And it's always in their newsfeed, just a new piece of information every day. And this information is probably true, mostly. And they go through until they become a lot more informed on the subject than the average person. Now, that doesn't mean they're experts on it. They just know a lot more about the events of what's happened. Not necessarily that they are experts in the actual science of it or anything like that, but they know that stuff's going on, and they know they have a moral obligation to help, or at least they feel a moral obligation to help. And so what this means is that these groups suddenly spring out of nowhere, to the surprise of the media, I guess, and the public and the state, and they have to try and figure out what to do. And I think that we should really just, whenever one of these groups comes along, we should just take them seriously and just take whatever true statements that they're saying at face value. If we can demonstrate they're true, we should accept that these people do mean it legitimately as a moral conviction, and we should probably say, okay, well, if that's true, then we should do something about it. We should be more responsive about these things. For example, there was a chap at the protest that I went to who had, a sign with loads of plastic bottles and loads of plastic bags on. They look gross. And I'm not really. I've been sleeping out much recently. Been busy. Sorry, but I am. They are gross, and they are legit. I mean, they are genuinely clogging up the fucking oceans and the ecosphere, and then creating microplastics that get into our food, giving us cancer or whatever. Impotence, whatever. All of the other negative effects that having microplastics in your system gives you. I have to look it up, and I can't be bothered. But it's not good for you, and it's harmful for animals, it's choking the environment. It's just disgusting. You don't want to go see a river with loads of plastic floating down it. It's gross. It doesn't go away. It's there for tens of thousands of years. It doesn't degrade very well. I would rather see bags, or cloth bags, paper bags, any other sort of thing, or glass bottles, because you can recycle them. So it seems that there is a good argument to say ban plastic bags. There is a demonstrable harm that they cause. We have adequate replacements for things like plastic bags and plastic bottles. We're clearly using them because they're cheap and convenient despite the cost. And the cost does end up affecting us personally, physically, because we end up ingesting this through the food that we eat. So there is a good reason for us to ban plastic bags. And every issue, now this is again Alinsky, which I have right here, and honestly, you've all got to read this. You've got to read it. You've got to know what's in it. You've got to know why these things are happening, because then you can actually have some sort of understanding of things like this. Because these people are radicals. They self-admit they're climate extremists. Extinction Rebellion. These people are rebelling against the system. And we can actually solve a few of the problems that they're rebelling against, because each movement lives or dies on the number of issues that it covers, right? So, and this is why I'm not afraid of the Brexit Party at all. Even if they get a bunch of MEPs, okay, well, great. After Brexit, what are you going to do? You're gone. You've got nothing. Each movement lives or dies on the number of issues it has. It has to have like 4 or 5 key issues on which any given activist is at least passingly familiar, or at least neutral towards. And so that means that lots of people will join a movement for any one particular interview, and it'll be like a graph, just like the first one I'm very invested in that one, then that one, and that one, and then less in a few others. But that keeps them as part of the movement because they're concerned about that aspect of it. Other people have different shaped graphs and whatnot on how interested they are in certain things, and maybe they'll have negatives on some things but really positive on others, so they can accept the loss. But that's what keeps a movement vital and keeps it alive, according to Saul Alinsky, and I think that that's correct. As far as I can see from my own experience as being a political organizer and activist, yes, I would say that that's correct. So what we can do to essentially stop these movements from really existing and becoming less extreme is taking away certain pillars of their existence that make them, that give them the sort of extra impetus. Because one of the things Alinsky was saying, and it is true, is that these movements need energy to carry on. And if things are happening, then that movement is provided with energy. When things stop happening, it starts dying, people start getting less interested, they think it's going to be less successful. And if you've only got one issue and you can't make any significant headway on it, then that's it. That's as far as you're going to go. But if you have multiple issues, you can really start, okay, well, we've gone as far as we can on that one. We'll change tactic, push another one where we see some weakness, get in and really sort of like start making some headway. And then the other ones will, and then, the original ones start going forward again. And this is how these things end up sort of steamrolling and like snowballing and taking over things. And to get rid of them, you can just start taking some of those true points away from them, right? So like mass immigration will, if you end mass immigration, you will dramatically cut the number of people who become radical mosque shooting Nazis, right? That's a fact. I think that you can guarantee from all of the best information that I have read about these kind of social movements and social attitudes. If you, for example, ban plastic bottles and paper, you will kill the more that entire wing of those people who want that banned. And there are probably a few other things you can do from this climate movement to get rid of as well. You can kill the free speech movement by just repealing Section 127 of the 2003 Communication Act. That will kill the free speech movement, because then we can't go to jail for being grossly offensive. Okay, that's all I want. That's all I fucking want. I want free speech. Actually, there are other problems. There are other things, but that's the end of the free speech movement. But that's not the only thing that we're doing, is it? I don't even know what to call ourselves. The liberal movement. We've got lots of issues, but that would be a serious victory. But in the long run, it would weaken us. But but good. We'd have achieved a goal, and then we can move on to the other ones, and hopefully we can say, right, okay, what is true and what can we be reasonable about? What can we compromise on? What do we have to have? And we could actually make some progress. But instead, the establishment is stonewalling everything. They are not actually responding as they should to these movements, because you don't get this happening. 750 middle class people, you don't get that happening unless there's something true about what they're saying. And I know that the concerns about, say, plastics are true. I know that I don't care about climate change, I don't care about all the other stuff, but the concerns of plastics and pollution and stuff like that, that's true, and that's worth addressing. That's genuinely worth addressing. We live in this fucking world. We're the ones who are ending up eating this shit and polluting our waters and all this. It's worth us doing this. So why don't we just do it? And then we'll get rid of a bunch of these people, because the impetus, because they're seeing all this crap over, like, well, okay, well, that's the problem half solved as far as they're concerned. And they'll go home and do something else. They won't feel they won't feel compelled by their own consciences to go and do these things. They'll say, well, okay, I can actually take some time for myself. I feel like I've won. I've got a victory. I can sit down and play some video games or knit a sewing circle or whatever. All this sort of shit that the hippies do. You can actually start getting rid of some of these extremist movements, and people start probably slowly but surely unsubscribing from these groups that have generated this kind of stuff. And I think that that's effectively the only way to solve them, because they know they have something true, and if they are being oppressed by the state, now I'm not saying these people are being oppressed, because I don't think they are. They're going around smashing shit up. Of course they're going to get arrested, but they will feel justified in what they do. And it'd be a lot easier just to accept the true things and what they're saying and just fix it. Because most of it is actually not that difficult. Stop allowing 300,000 people a year into the country. Stop using plastic for bags that you bring your bloody shopping home in. Just sell cloth ones or give paper ones, whatever. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It doesn't change the country particularly. It's not against anyone's moral principles, but it will satisfy the principles of those people who can't stand to see plastic bags choking small animals and stuff like this, clogging up the rivers and the seas, and killing marine life, all this sort of stuff. That will be something that solves that problem for them, and they can get on with their lives. Because a lot of us don't want to actually do this forever. We've got stuff we want to do that's not this. Like, God, there's so much I want to do that's not political, but I don't have that opportunity anymore. And honestly, I want to be able to do that. And I can, at any point, I think I could turn around and say, right, okay, when we've achieved a bunch of goals, I can say, right, guys, I'm going to have to, I'm done with politics, it seems. It seems like we've won on a bunch of issues. So now I can turn my gaze to whatever it is I want to do, make a video game, or produce historical videos about interesting historical figures, which I've wanted to for ages, or like grand narrative videos exploring the historical reasons for things. Man, I've had a series on the Peloponnesian War planned in my head for such a long time, to the point where I need to need to reread Thucydides, because there's so much about it I've forgotten. But there was so much when I read through it. I was just like, wow, this is an epic series in the making. Like I'm doing with the Cathar heresy at the moment, which is honestly going to be. I'm essentially taking a couple of months out of it because of all the campaigning that I'm doing. But it will be done this year. It will be done, because it's not that difficult to do. It's not that dense to do either. I've gone through. I've got two narrative, timeline sort of narrative events books, and one's really good. One's a lot more social, and the other a lot more political. And then I've got a couple of other books just to get a better understanding of medieval French society. I've got a book about women. I've got a book about peasants, and a bunch of other stuff I want to go through. But again, nothing too difficult. And then all I have to do is write the script. But the thing is, I'm actually really good at writing scripts. I find it really easy. I know what I want to say. I just start saying things. I'm not one of those people who can't write. But I haven't got the time to do it, because I need to go out there and kick some ass, don't I? I need to go out there and take some names. I don't really want to have to do that for my whole life. I would love to actually make something good that I can just be genuinely proud of. Not that I'm not proud of my political work, obviously I am, but something cultural that I think will actually be something that people can want to watch in 10 years' time as well as worth watching now, you know? Whereas political videos, they never age well, obviously. Well, they never age interestingly, because unless you're doing some sort of historical documentary on the time period. And, you know, future historians, you're welcome, I'm just saying. But yeah, so getting back to the core point of this, let's just give them what they want if what they want is fair and true. And in the case of getting rid of gross offence, that's true. Getting rid of plastics, that's true. Closing the borders, that's true. It's all good and fair and true to do these things. And you can kill like a bunch of movements in one foul swoop. And that's good. That improves the world. That frees these people from the moral burden that they have to endure of feeling that they have to go out and spend all their time doing this stuff. You know, that would just be the quickest way to solve these problems, because social media isn't going away and it's not going to stop. And I don't want to say radicalizing people, let's just call them extremists. You know, it's not going to stop creating these kind of extremist movements that identify a particular problem, form an ideology around it, or is informed by a particular kind of ideology, and then gets them out into the street and protest constantly. Oh, I think I'm going to bed. But it really is my experience that these things are true. And I just wish they could do it, because then we wouldn't have so much to worry about.